Welcome to the Harvesting Wisdom podcast. Together we explore the vast landscapes of life, delving into the rich soil of experiences, sowing the seeds of curiosity, and harvesting the profound wisdom that each episode unfolds. Welcome to another episode here in Harvesting Wisdom podcast. Today's guest is Suki, Jensen, and Joe Rizal. I'm going to just give a quick bio of Suki. I'm going to read it off, and Suki, tell me if it's close to what you've done and do. You're an accomplished director with a proven track record in government administration. You got a diverse skill set, including nonprofit management, government administration, event management, public speaking, media relations. You demonstrated ability to navigate complex governmental structures and effectively manage administrative functions. Proficiency in nonprofit management, showcasing commitment to serving the community and driving positive change. Strong communication skills coupled with expertise in public speaking. Effective advocate and spokesperson in her field. Holds a Bachelor of Science degree in middle grades education from Kennesaw State University, focus on science and social studies and education highlights dedication to continuous learning and professional development, driven by passion for public service and a desire to make a difference. Significant contributions to government administration and community development. Does that pretty much cover it?
Sure. Yes. Yes. I think AI might have generated that because, I would have said I'm just, for nearly 20 years, I've been in local government here in Athens. And prior to that, I was teaching and continue to teach today in my current position. I tell myself we're always teaching and learning in whatever position we're in.
Right. Taking what you got and showing it to other people. That's great. So you're on one of the boards, right? So which
Suki's involved with the Georgia State chapter, which I believe you guys just received your chapter, right?
We did. We're really excited. We are.
Congratulations.
This year, Georgia Compost Council just got announced within the last 2 months. Thank you. We're excited.
How hard was that for everybody to go through that? How painful was it? Because we're just starting it here.
It wasn't that bad because everybody shared, in local government, nonprofit realm, everybody is willing to share. So we actually had Florida's application, I think South Carolina or North Carolina's application, and we were able to use theirs as a blueprint to kind of complete our application. The hardest part is just making sure we have all the right people in our state around the table. And I think we did that rather uniquely, maybe, and that was bringing our two organizations in the state that work in waste, which was SWANA, Georgia chapter, and the Georgia Recycling Coalition together to help start the Georgia Compost Council.
Okay, and the focus. So let's see, you're not at, well, maybe you are. Are you a farmer or a gardener or a composter yourself?
I am a composter and a gardener, not a farmer, but I have small gardens. I'm a master composter and master gardener. In our state, the Cooperative Extension Offices offers both programs. Oh. So I became a master gardener about probably 7 years ago now.
And we got to get that. We got to get that master composter certification.
Didn't even know that exists. I feel like a Boy Scout without a badge. You have one of the badges.
Yeah, you guys will have to get that. We started it in the solid waste department. My department started it with the Athens Cooperative Extension Office here in our community. And so we started it over 10 years ago now, and we based it on some other states. Vermont has a great program. There were a couple of other programs that had it. So, of course, always, you don't have to reinvent the wheel anymore. Typically, you can already find good information and tweak it to your needs. So again, we had some awesome places share their program with us, and we started it, like I said, about 10 years ago.
Okay, so we're talking public policy and your work with the government. You're actually teaching full time, right? So what have you done? Have you had government roles and positions, or are you just work within the government to accomplish some of the things that you know need to be done?
Well, I'm the director of solid waste. I have been for the last 7 years in my community. So I'm over our landfill, our commercial composting facility, one of only two in the state of Georgia, and over our recycling program and our collections program. So that's what I do. I have 72 staff members in our department that
Wow. Okay.
that really manage solid waste in our community.
Okay. So when you say you're teaching staff and general, you're not like moonlighting and teaching at a high school or anything like that,
No,
doing 80
no,
hours.
no. I'm an
Okay.
informal teacher now. I used to be a formal classroom teacher in my
Okay.
past life, but now I'm informal. And so I teach staff and I also teach community members when I get a chance to. And then the Master Composter program, actually, I'm still one of the main instructors for that program. And so that's where I still get to dip my foot in the water of education.
How
So
do you?
that's,
Oh, I'm
go
sorry.
ahead. No.
How do you still partner with schools? I'm sure it sounds to me like you have a great connection as a former teacher, and that's something that we want to do as well. We have nonprofits that work a lot with schools with our state chapter. So, how does the Georgia state chapter engage schools in composting and gardening?
Well, let me start here in our community. We have a green school program here in Athens. So that's great. A lot of places in Georgia have green school programs or sustainability
Mm.
programs. So that's a great inlet to get into the schools if they already have a program like that. Often it's staff led and or student led across Georgia. I can't speak on outside of Georgia. So that's a great place for an informal educator like ourselves to make that connection with our schools. Now, for the state organizations, Georgia Recycling Coalition and SWANA Georgia chapter, it's a little more difficult. And we haven't dipped our toe yet since we're such a new composting council. We have not gotten into schools yet, but I imagine we'll use similar mechanisms that SWANA Georgia chapter and Georgia Recycling Coalition do. And that's often offering kind of broad or larger resources to our local communities and nonprofits to help distribute to their classrooms. So we won't be going in, as a large state organization, but we'll make sure our local governments have resources like classroom, maybe one-off classroom activities, suggested reading lists. I know here in Athens, every year we donate to every single library in Athens. We donate compost books. During International Compost Awareness Week, we do tours of our compost facility for all ages, K through old age. We will give you a tour of our facilities. And that's another way that local folks can get people involved in composting or recycling, whatever it may be, is it's always good for folks to smell, to see where their waste travels, whether it be compostables or recyclables or trash. So we pay for school buses for our local schools to come and tour our facilities. So we actually have kind of the cornerstone of our education here locally for composting, recycling, and waste in general are our tours. So we have staff that lead those tours, and I back them up. That's a good part of my job too. I get to back up every once in a while staff when they need an extra person leading a tour.
So you've got, I mean, Georgia's a big state, right? And Atlanta, I don't know if that's bigger than Phoenix or not, but it's a big city. I haven't, I grew up in the north, up in Buffalo, and I think I went down south to Florida a handful of times, probably drove through Georgia, but my only real experience in Georgia is I go to Africa. We do diversified farming and community development with the nonprofit in Africa, and I fly through Georgia. And so every time I go, I have like a 1 day layover, and I think, wow, this is like a really great place. This is, in United States, and I haven't spent a lot of time. And what amazes me is how friendly all the people are at the airport and every place I go. It's like, why are these people all smiling? I'm not used to that, but it's kind of this cool place. Your climate is really conducive to like worm farming. Do you do any vermicomposting?
I personally used to. I don't currently, but we do have quite a few vermicomposters and folks that grow and harvest worms throughout the state. There are some great people in our state. Jason Governo, he's one of the main folks that we use in our state to come and educate people about vermicomposting. And also, he has great connections to farmers throughout the state that farm red wigglers in particular
Uh-huh.
to sell to composters. And definitely Georgia has a great climate for composting year round. And also in South Georgia in particular, a lot of feedstocks. There are a lot of feedstocks to compost in middle and South Georgia. There's a lot of farming going on there. But
It's cool.
definitely vermicomposting is easy here in Georgia. For you and that used to live in Buffalo, you may not be able to do a lot in the wintertime. We're still able to do that
Right.
a lot in the wintertime. The more difficult time of the year for us is what I call the melting season, which is summer, which out in Phoenix, y'all have a melting season too.
Yeah, yeah.
Y'all feel like you're in the oven just like we are. We're just in that oven with you and wrapped in wool because the humidity is
Yeah,
so
your
high
humidity is
and
crazy.
the temperature is high as well.
Well, you also have, because of that climate, which is actually a great climate with that humidity in the waters, it looked like a forest to me when I went to Georgia. I was like, oh my God, I'm in a forest. It's so thick and lush. So getting carbon and recycling, wood fiber or yard waste, whatever you want to call it, is certainly not a problem over there. You've got so much of it, right? And you talked about feedstocks, so definitely got cattle, hogs, chickens. I don't know what your primary products are. You got to have a dairy with all those people, that kind of thing. So um, you got that material, and then there's this whole food waste recycling. What's the focus on? I'm going to take a step away from the U.S. Compost Advocacy thing, but with your actual job, what's kind of the focus with you guys in your recycling program that you're in charge of the state of Georgia of all of that going on? Is it primarily yard waste, or do you guys do a source separation for food, or all of the above? What do you primarily work with?
We here locally, we have one of only two commercial composting facilities in the state that are located on a municipal landfill property.
Okay.
And actually, we were one of two, the first ones on that were run by a municipality anyway. We are not we don't have a lot of composting operations in Georgia yet. We're hoping actually being part of this council will have more and it'll open up business even more in our state with the attention brought to us. But here locally, since we do have our own commercial composting facility, we opened it to compost biosolids from our wastewater treatment facilities, water reclamation facilities here. And then we have our own leaf and limb collection program. And so we collect that, and that's the carbon and nitrogen. But we also have in Athens, we had the first commercial compost collection program where we were collecting and still are collecting commercial food scraps from businesses and industry. We're right in the middle of, again, the first in the state for a municipality to operate a residential compost collection program. We have a pilot right now going with 400 of our residents, and we pick up twice a week compost. Not everybody gets once a week pick up, but those 400 folks we can do it in 2 days. And we're piloting that till May, the 1st of May, just to see how it goes, how we can operate, what the costs will be for us. So that's what we're doing locally. And unfortunately, carbon is still an issue. Yes, you did see a lot of trees, and you actually hit the nail on the head. Our top two products, agricultural products in the state of Georgia, are broilers, which are chickens,
Hmm.
and then timber. And both have a lot of feedstock opportunities. Unfortunately, probably more with chicken, but with chicken feedstock opportunities, there are a lot of operational issues, especially with odors that have to be settled out. So that's been a real challenge for the state to do a lot of composting in the chicken feedstock arena. And then in the timber arena, a lot of the excess timber we're competing with biomass facilities in the state that are using that material.
Sure.
So carbon is. And then lastly, our state changed on a broader level. Again, we don't have that many composting opportunities right now in the state of Georgia. They're growing, But the state changed regulations about 10 years ago now that said if you had a landfill, if you ran a landfill, public or private, and you had a methane capture system, you could actually put leaf and limb debris in the landfill. So unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at this, I think it was unfortunate because I don't know that the data strongly suggests that that leaf and limb produces enough methane to really justify
Right.
putting it in there. But there was some studies done by the University of Georgia, right here in Athens, that so many of our communities were having trouble with leaf and limb. They decided that was the best thing to do, was to allow it to go into a landfill and just break down. At least they're reaping the benefits of gas to generate electricity. So we decided not to do that locally, even though we do have a gas collection system. So we still collect leaf and limb, and it is diverted all for our composting operation. But that's one challenge in the state is kind of hate to sound like, but competing with the landfills for leaf and
Yeah.
limb debris.
Well,
So
it's interesting how you put it, but and the biomass producers, that's fine. You're competing with them. It's still a product that's waste is being diverted. Now, with the biomass guys, they're actually probably growing certain trees or certain plants for biomass production. But the reality is it's still okay because it's something being used. I think a big part of this whole compost concept is to recycle our wastes and to avoid putting things in landfills. There's not a lot of methane that comes from tree and shrub landfilling. I don't think as much as it would be if it was coming from food products or animal waste, which is higher nitrogen stuff. So you get more methane out of that, I guess. But what kind of equipment do you guys have at your disposal then? Because you need different equipment for all the different things we just talked about to shred yard waste, trees, grasses. You need certain things to process food. You need different equipment to do the same thing with composting animal waste. We use turners here and that kind of thing. But so how much of that equipment do you have access with your two facilities?
with our composting facility,
Right.
we pick up our leaf and limb debris with just boom trucks. We pick up about 40,000 households, or the opportunity is there every 6 weeks to pick up about 40,000 households here in Athens, their leaf and limb debris with boom trucks. And then it goes to our composting facility, which is co-located at the landfill. And we actually use an outside grinding company. We
Okay.
actually found that tub grinders for us are really expensive and
Too
hard for
hard to
us to
repair.
maintain.
Right. Exactly.
Exactly. And we feel we have a gentleman, we're lucky. I'm just going to say we're fortunate. I'm knocking on wood here. We are his only customer. He is an older man. He's essentially out of the business. We're his only customer. He's still, he grinds for us every other month, all the material we have, about 8,000 tons a year he grinds for us. He does it often after hours. He has a key to our facility. He does it and charges really a low fee for us. And we are able to cover our costs with charging customers $25.50 a ton, and that covers our grinding costs for
That's
that.
great.
So,
Yeah, I mean,
so it is.
public-private relationships can be super beneficial and sustainable. So you're doing that. Do you then take it a step further and do any? Do you have other shredders or you use the tub grinders, and that's your final product? So you get what, like a 4-inch, and
Typically we do,
smaller.
we that's what we get out of the tub grinder for our carbon source. And then we actually use aerated static pile composting, and we have biosolid and leaf and limb separated from our food scrap composting. So we have two separate end markets for those streams. We
Hmm.
have a screener. So once we're done actually composting, before we cure and sell the product, we do screen it. So it gets down to about 2-inch minus, and
Okay.
we will sell our finished product, our fines, for about $20 a cubic yard. And I say about because if you're, mom and pop will sell it to you for $20. If you are a sand company, we have some sand companies, we have some large landscaping companies. We cut them a break. The larger quantities that they want to
Sure.
buy from us, the bigger break they'll get for bulk purchases. And then we sell the overs too. A lot of landscapers like the kind of enriched mulch, the overs that come
Sure.
off of the screener. So we don't sell all of those because they are great for inoculating the pile and protecting the pipes on areostatic piles. So we do that.
Reuse
So
it.
basically, we
Sure.
just have one screener, and we have two skid steers that move material all over the compost pad, and then we have that private partnership for the grinding of our material. We have a mini excavator too to help load smaller quantities and move material. Some of the nice thing about being co-located at the landfill, if we need an off-road truck or if we need a large excavator, we just borrow the landfill's equipment to do anything that we might need at
That's
the
great.
compost pad. So that's a benefit.
Yeah, that's great. The idea of taking food waste and the let's call it wood fiber. Do you ever think in terms of combining them and creating a like a specialty compost that you can then go and sell? Because the food waste is going to be higher in nitrogen, right? And I think when you put them together, they heat up better that way too and decompose
And we
faster.
do. We put them together. We do. The leaf and limb is mixed with the food. That's one separate stream, and then the biosolids are mixed with leaf and limb. So all of it's
Okay,
mixed.
that's cool.
Sorry if I misspoke, but all of it that's our carbon and nitrogen. We have found there's so much misinformation surrounding biosolid compost that folks don't always want biosolid compost. And that biosolid compost is heavily regulated. So we have to have it on our paved pad. We have to make sure we sample our retention pond that's adjacent to the biosolid compost pad. We also have to do all of the pathogen testing on our biosolid compost. So we
Sure.
keep them separate so that food scrap can truly they don't have all those regulations here in Georgia for food scrap. So,
So your biosolids, do they entail human waste too?
well, biosolids are a product. They're from the water reclamation
Oh,
facility,
so it is.
but
Okay.
essentially it's what's left over. It's when you flush your toilet, and even if you're on septic system, if you have your septic pumped, eventually what we flush goes to a water reclamation facility. Here in Athens, we have 3 water reclamation facilities, and what they do is they grow amoebas and other microorganisms to break down what we flush, and then those microorganisms die because there are trillions of them, and they produce waste. And essentially that's what biosolids are. People get very confused about
Ah,
what it is. It's
got it.
broken down. It's literally
It's the final sludge.
bacteria and microorganisms that die, and their waste that we're getting from the water reclamation
Okay.
process.
And so you test that for heavy metals and
Yeah.
pharmaceuticals and all those different things that we all
Here in
eat
Georgia,
as
yes.
humans.
Yes, we do. Here in Georgia, we're required, and anywhere actually, you have to do it. Not for pharmaceuticals. We did choose to do it ourselves for pharmaceuticals. We don't do it every time for pharmaceuticals because um, early on, the only place we could get testing, and it still might be the same, was University of Washington tested our compost for pharmaceuticals. We are required to test for heavy metals and then also E. coli or salmonella. So those have to be tested for biosolid compost.
That's kind of crazy because University of Washington, with the 10, 15 years ago, there was only a couple of labs that tested any of this stuff, right? And University of Washington was one of them. Interesting that I guess, I don't know how many are doing biosolids because we don't. My company, Soil, Seed, and Water, we do commercial composting, but we're primarily using animal waste from dairies and chickens, and then we also use wood waste from landscape operations in some of our blends, but we don't do the biosolids. But I'm a believer in using all of any waste product should be recycled, but there are a few more issues with anything that's animal related or human related. You just gotta And some things you can compost out, and some things you can't. And pharmaceuticals are one of the things or heavy metals that you really can't take out. But they still become good landscape or landfill covers, and I mean, there's still a good purpose for them. It's just not, good for soil health for a farmer, I guess. But now you had mentioned that you give away books on composting. How do I get you to send me some of your books? Because I'm just about finished writing a book on composting and one on vermicomposting, and I'm doing it more from a practitioner's standpoint rather than the PhD. I've got notes from all the books I've read, and that's kind of the research part. But then we have a chapter on each from our commercial composting, done at scale, and then we do it at our nonprofit. Joe runs the nonprofit where we're doing composting at schools and homes, and same science and applied science for all composting, right? But different equipment. Some is labor, and some is using a plastic container versus our loaders and our John Deere tractors and turners, and we have blenders and rotomixers and things like that we're using. So it's a different game. But depending on who's doing the reading, if you're interested in getting in the business or if you're interested in just doing it at home, I think that's the book that's who we're trying to talk to. But I read all every single different books, but there's so many things out there. Is that a book that you guys put out for like children and that kind of thing?
No, we research every year. We're constantly researching to see what new materials we can find. So none of them I can claim. I can send you a great book list of what we've given out to
Sure.
schools.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah.
We've been doing it for nearly 20 years. That's part of one of our favorite events for composting here locally and in the state is International Compost Awareness Week. And so we always distribute books, and I can send you the list of some great books for children. We partner with the library. They end up reading the book that we've selected for the week. We have book readings at the library.
Great.
We donate the books to schools. And then we partner with our local botanical garden. We're lucky to have the state botanical garden right here, just like y'all have in Phoenix, a great botanical garden there. We have our state one right here in our community. We partner with them. And so we have that whole week, we are doing education for kindergarten to adults. We have tours, programs, book readings. This year, we're excited because we get to kick off the Georgia Composting chapter. And we're going to do it with a tour right here in Athens. We chose Athens because Atlanta gets a little bit busy and hard to get around late afternoon with all the traffic. So we're going to kick off on May 7th. That's our official kickoff of the Georgia Composting Council. And what we're doing is we're having a tour at our facility, and then we're all going to go down to one of our local breweries that does a great job composting, and they actually have a lot of great sustainability. They have a sustainability vision and goals, and we're going to kind of have a networking event there. We're going to have a sustainability tour of the actual brewery so that we can see what they're doing. Our caterer is one of our customers in the compost realm. We didn't want to use somebody that wasn't composting, so we have one of our restaurants that compost really well are going to provide food for the event. Everybody will get a drink ticket, and we're going to do kind of speed dating. We have selected people to talk about what they're doing in composting around our state, and they get just a few minutes to do that.
Are you videoing all that? Are you videoing it so you can show us everything?
I hadn't thought about it.
Well,
maybe we should.
Yeah. I love your open source approach, because we have to do this on a national basis. We have to change the culture and everything else. And, you sharing all this with us is invaluable to us. And sure, get somebody to take a video and send it to us. And we'll try to. I
really like how you're supporting the local restaurants or other industries that are supporting. We have a new sponsor for our nonprofit, which is Snooze, and
that's the cupcakes here.
Those are the cupcakes. They actually they recycled 90% of their garbage, which we think is great. So we're trying to raise awareness too. Just one quick question: how does the Georgia Composting Council support businesses like yours or like the brewery? Is there a campaign, or what are the initiatives that the Composting Council is trying to support you and other local businesses that are on board?
Well, I think reaching out to us and asking us to host was a great first step for them. Since we're so new, I can't tell you we have a plethora of background yet, but they reached out to us, asked if we were interested in hosting that tour, and then we then wanted to make sure we only used our local businesses that compost and recycle, divert material, a tremendous amount of material. So, but we hope that they'll businesses and industries throughout our state that touch composting will become sponsors. And I think what we are talking about doing initially is really plugging everything on our socials and on our website, and start having either either quarterly, we hope for quarterly, that's our goal, is having quarterly gatherings somewhere in our state that actually showcases a composting facility or a great composting program that might be more educational based, but not actually a facility doing the work, or showcasing a great compost collection program,
I
and then
like it.
having a social where we can network after. Georgia's pretty big, so if you're going to go from North Georgia to South Georgia, you're talking, to cross our state, it's a good 8 hours long ways, and then even actually both ways.
I tell you
So
what,
we're trying to move around the state.
if
Where
you're
is Athens? Is it near Atlanta?
We're an hour and a half east and a little bit north of Atlanta.
Okay, that's close.
yeah, if you're going to travel 8 hours, you better have a nice cold beer and a good meal waiting for me, right?
Exactly.
All right.
And a good place to stay, somewhere funky. Here in Athens, pretty much every place we're a college town, so
Love
every
it.
place is a little funky. And so we have the University of Georgia right here in Athens. So having a funky place to stay and good speakers or topics, and definitely a cold beer will help bring people to the table.
Is that the home of REM too?
It is the home of REM and the
All right.
B-52s.
Nice.
Oh,
Okay.
B-52s as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so next year, US Compost Council has their big thing in Phoenix. Are you coming here?
I love Phoenix. I go there every chance I get. I was hoping to be able to come to our SWANA SOAR conferences there actually in April, but I cannot make it. But I will definitely be there for the US Compost Council.
You know what?
We'll
I
see
love
you then.
Arizona.
Anytime you're here, we'll definitely have a cold beer waiting for you.
Heck yeah, then I'm there.
All right. Well, good luck finding your dog.
Yes.
He's found, by the way, y'all.
Oh,
Excellent.
excellent.
you got
My
that.
friends caught him and threw him back in my house for me, so he's back in
Alrighty.
my house.
Congratulations. Well,
Thank
you. Thank you for joining us. Suki, Jensen, Joe Rozelle. I'm Mike McMahon. I appreciate all our listeners today, and I leave with the same question I always do now, and that is, whose world is it anyway? Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining the Harvesting Wisdom podcast. Click subscribe and like for ongoing insightful conversations. Explore our webpage for show notes and additional resources. Visit our guests' webpage for deeper insights. Your engagement is the foundation of our journey, and until next time, keep pursuing wisdom.